Rewind-A-Dynamite from the post-wrestling site. AEW, lighting up the fuse. Sit back and enjoy the bubbly as we hear from John and Wai Ting. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And if the buck stops here, this thing might blow. Everything you hear are opinions of the show. And if you don't like it, go to the forums and let them know.
It is Open House Week at Post Wrestling. We hope you're enjoying all of the amenities, all of the rooms,
all the furniture.
Yes, we did some dusting. We cleaned the floors. We hope everyone is checking out the various installments that we have been putting out this week on the Post Wrestling Cafe. If you're joining us and you're not part of the Cool Club, you can join the free tier at postwrestlingcafe.com, where you can listen to this show live, get the entire XL version of the show, and all of our bonus content this week, including Post Pro Res, including the interview I did with Lavi Margolin this week, the author of Ultimate Fighters, talking about Dana White, Donald Trump, and the White House. Three things that I text Way about on a daily basis. And we got to discuss this, the history of this interesting relationship as it leads into June 14th.
I can't imagine maybe a better hype video for that UFC show than this interview.
We'll also be back on Thursday with Rewind-A-Wai. It is a Manami Toyota retrospective. We're going to be looking at 5 of her matches from her career and talking about the Toshio Yamada title versus hair match from 1992, her match with Mima Shimoda, with Aja Kong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. I mean, it seems like, certainly for me, and I've heard from some of our listeners, Manami Toyota, as much as she might still be praised to this day from people who, are in the know, is a bit of a blind spot, for a lot of our wrestling sort of knowledge bases. So this is a terrific excuse to go back to watch some of these matches that are pretty much all available on YouTube. So if you want to find the list right now, just go to forum.postwrestling.com, and in the feedback thread, you'll find links to pretty much all the matches that you can watch.
Yes. We are going to provide you a full 360-degree view to provide you that blind spot in your Toyota.
Perfect. Yes.
And then
backup camera.
That's right. And later on this week, we have the return of MCU Later. Rich and WH are going to be talking about Spider-Noir, starring Nicolas Cage. They're going to be talking about the first 4 episodes. They'll do the rest next week. And we've got the Best of the Super Juniors final covered this Sunday by Karen Peterson and Bruce Lord. So check out all of that. The free tier of postwrestlingcafe.com, which also includes the audio news updates for this week only for everybody. So you can check out that. Jack dropped one today, and those come to your feed on a daily basis.
Yeah, great work from our team for all of that. Hope you guys are enjoying the open house.
We're moving on to Dynamite. Tonight, they were in Richmond, Virginia at the Stuart C. Siegel Center. And WrestleTix announced 3,549 tickets distributed. And we started off with not one, but 2 interviews with Roosh. We had to hear from this man at various parts of the day, starting off cold with Renee interviewing him earlier in the day. And he said how he has waited 3 years for this title shot. He will die in the ring if that's what it takes. This is for my people, my family, and my pride. And MJF comes in, slaps Roosh as security does a pull apart. And that means no countouts in this match.
Yeah, I guess that's what that means. Or, they got heated enough that somebody demanded this and was afforded it.
I don't know what prompted that's it, no countouts. He slapped him.
I mean, maybe one of these two requested it, or Tony just thought, hey, you know what? This match kind of needs something. You don't want to keep it contained in the ring, and we want to make it a bit more attractive. I think Roosh. First of all, this segment, this build has only received, less than a week, really. So giving it airtime, I thought was effective, and I think continuing to hear Roosh on commentary, on a promo, allows us to continue to see where he's at in terms of being an English promo. I think he's good at emoting. He's good at putting intensity into his English promos. I will say the content feels somewhat generic. He hasn't, in the time that he's gotten this win streak going, he's been given some mic time, but it really hasn't been any used, to say any more than his usual catchphrase. He said a little bit more here about what his actual motivation is. He wants to kind of fight for him and his people, but I still found it somewhat generic. So in terms of like delivery, I think it's strong. In terms of content, I don't think it was that strong.
Well, he got a second take because then we go to present time right before the match, and Renee interviews Rush again, and Andrade comes in to give him advice to do this for his family, just as Rush had told us earlier in the day he was going to do this for, and for those who think they can't be champion.
This was really awkward. Yes, I understand there was an earlier today lower third in that first segment, but it's one of those blink and you would have missed it types of things. And also, the setting is almost essentially exactly the same. It's Renee, it's Rush, both of them like dressed in pretty much the same thing here. I think if they wanted to do this, they should have had one maybe shot at a different location, maybe like out of the arena or in the stands, while Rush would still be in his street clothes, hopefully, before the crowd gets there, just to kind of really differentiate it and make you realize, okay, it's taking place at a different time. It also does not help that Andrade pretty much cut the same promo that Rush just did in the earlier segment. So, including
it's been a few hours. You might have forgotten what he's fighting for.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Honestly, like they should have condensed both of these into one thing, or you should have done one or the other. I like this on its own, but like, I don't know, back to back, it was very, very awkward.
Yeah. When he said that, do this for anyone who thinks that we can't be champion. Is this like, what, Mexicans can't become champion in AEW? Like, what was this?
It's exactly that.
Okay.
Because I don't know how many people would actively think that, but there has never been a Mexican champion yet world champion yet in AEW, and that's something they're both trying to fix.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we got our no count out match between MJF and Rush. I wonder how many countouts there's been in AEW history to worry about this.
You know what?
I'm sure there's been more.
Less than
there's
10.
been more DQs than there have been countouts. I can't think of a countout off the top of my head in AEW, which is astounding.
I'm willing to bet like less than 10, but yeah. I mean, if we're including strictly Dynamite Collision, I don't know.
I would include Dynamite and Collision and say comfortably it would be under 10 because I cannot think
that's
of
what
any
I'm
countouts.
saying. Like if we're including Dark, like actually there probably was never.
I don't think they were doing countouts on Dark to protect John Silver. MJF comes out dressed as a matador. I can only think that this guy was thinking this match was going to be a lot bigger, potentially. Like, this felt like a real investment in a matador costume for a very brief walkout. And for, like, this is just a lot of investment for, like, a TV entrance.
I guess I'm not sure why you are that concerned about, like, how much money this man has to not put effort into... Like
it's not the money, it's just the thought that went into it. And
why wouldn't he put more effort into a match of his on television?
I just feel he was like thinking this would be a much bigger stage to do this matador outfit.
Here's the thing, again, like this has received very little build, right? It's like the challenge was made last week, almost like, in the middle of like a segment with Mark Briscoe. So I think he just wanted like with the opening segment, like you wanted to just make this feel a little bit more special than.
Do you think you could get a matador outfit on a week's notice if you needed to?
If you give me a week, probably.
You could. Okay. He instructs Justin Roberts to introduce him as the guy that took out their home state boy Hangman so he can never be champion again, and that you people put the Virgin in Virginia. Then we get the first of two spit spots on the show as MJF spits in the face of Rush, and he really just went all in on this one. This was Brett Vince level of just disgusting. And Rush gets poked in the eyes, but comes back with a dive, chokes MJF with the cable on the floor, and then back body drops MJF onto the timekeeper's table. He goes for the bull's horns, and MJF just like rolls onto his stomach. This was like stop, drop, and roll during a fire drill. And Rush, this was the ultimate counter to the bull's horns. I hope people were taking notes. The buckle is exposed, and so Bryce continually gets in the way of this turnbuckle because, as they explain, it's not no DQ, it's no countout. So MJF rams Rush into the exposed buckle and busts open Rush. So Rush shoves MJF into the buckle moments later, and then MJF comes off the top, snapping the arm, setting up Salt of the Earth, and There's a straight jacket pile driver by Roosh on the edge, and Roosh, during the picture-in-picture, tries to pop his shoulder back into place. The doctor comes over to check on him and announces the match is over. And then they stole this spot after Mike Perry and Nate Diaz when they stopped the fight after the second round. And Nate Diaz headbutted Stitch Duran to continue the fight. That's what Roosh did here. He headbutts the doctor, and the match continues. So, of course, this doesn't constitute a DQ, by the way. You can take out a medical professional.
I mean, he might get fined afterwards, but he's not going to get DQ'd.
Yeah. We draw the line at exposed turnbuckles, but assault, have at it. So he goes for the bull's horns, and he hits it with the one arm, and MJF gets his hand on the rope. Then on the floor, goes for another bull's horns, misses Max, goes into the barricade, and takes a tombstone from Max on the barricade. MJF sidesteps Roosh off the top, and he locks on a label lock to the injured arm, and Roosh goes out at 18 minutes and 35 seconds as he, I assume, died here. He was willing to die and did. That was the end of Roosh. He did some really good selling in this match. It was a very good opener. They were saying on the TBS broadcast this was limited commercial interruption, so I imagine most people on TBS got pretty much most of this match. I mean, we got it unedited. So
yeah, except for the like all the stuff with the trainer or with the ringside physician, that was all during commercial break.
Oh, for TBS, yes.
For TBS, yeah.
Yeah, that was in the picture-in-picture, and I could imagine some people... I think even the popping of the shoulder was in the picture-in-picture, so it could have been a little jarring if you weren't focused on that in your tiny box.
I found it pretty novel that like they would do something that would otherwise be like a pretty focused part of the match, all for most people watching in picture-in-picture.
It was the turning point that led to the arm and that led to the finish.
Yeah, but it is also the type of scene that would play out, I think, perfectly understandable, just silently, like without even hearing the sound. Oh, you see a guy popping the shoulder in, you see a ringside physician checking on him, and you see him headbutting the ringside physician. Okay, I get it. So I would actually be really curious about the experience of just simply watching that entire thing play out in picture. So I kind of like the idea that it was so unique. I thought it was very quite excellent match. You know, it was to me unique because it was the most sympathetic we've seen Roosh in AEW. He was bloodied here. He had a bad arm all throughout the match. But even as a babyface, I thought he injected a great deal of intensity that he carries into all of his matches. And I thought he showed here how good he could be as your sympathetic babyface in a big match here. MJF was great as usual, orchestrating all of it. I thought the no countout stip was worthwhile, made the match dynamic, giving us like a strong table spot, barricade spot, and all the blood, of course, in the turnbuckle spots I thought were utilized very well as well. I am also curious if the label lock is now going to be a new MJF finisher. I don't think he's used it before, right? At least not in a prominent way to end matches, right? So I kind of found this interesting.
I mean, it was also specific to the injury, but it does work well for, you know, your salt of the earth, and you work over the arm, and then you have multiple submissions.
I think it's better than the salt of the earth, which is such a, like at this point, kind of ordinary move, you know, of Fujiwara. This is at least, it has a bit more credibility.
Yeah, he could come up with some name to replace Gene LaBelle. Maybe it's the I don't know.
The Hawkins lock.
The Hawkins lock.
Named after Kurt Hawkins.
Of course.
His trainer.
So MJF sets up for a belt shot when Mark Briscoe runs down. There's a low blow by Max, so the conglomeration come out. And this is including Tomohiro Ishii. He was not going to miss the Richmond, Virginia Dynamite. He had this one circled on his calendar.
I wonder, if he lives here for half the year now. Does he just have a residence somewhere in Florida?
I bet you for 6 weeks out of the year, he's just sitting out at the pool having pina coladas.
Amazing.
You know, heckling other swimmers at the local Y.
I bet he just hangs out at Walmart, for most of the week, and then
watches old episodes of VR.
He must. What a life.
He's a big Eric LaSalle fan.
Yeah.
Mark Briscoe, we go right into his match with Lio Rush. Man, is this Lio Rush popular? This guy could lose forever, and he's going to be over. He comes out, and the conglomeration freeze as Rush comes out. This is like a trend for a while. These videos where they froze, and I don't remember what it was called, but it was reminded me of that.
I don't know what it's called, but I mean, essentially, like they're playing red light, green light. Like from Squid Game. But now they've established that Blackheart Leo Rush can't see you if you're not moving.
No.
So
the plot thickens.
Yeah, this was incredibly fascinating. Most of which because you had Tomohiro Ishii also playing along, and he had to freeze when the rest of the conglomeration did. So again, I just love this.
Why wasn't this guy in the best of the Super Juniors? Him and Jun Kasai, could you imagine?
I mean, I think he's destined for more than best of the Super Juniors. Honestly, like
this guy needs to be in DDT. I think.
I think this guy is going to be really over in AEW, if not already. You know.
At some point here, Tony Schiavone asks why this guy's wearing his crew tights, and that was a great question. The team has broken up. It really doesn't fit this guy in any way. Crew tights.
Well, he's been busy. He's been possessed, and therefore, I don't think he's had enough time to really communicate to a tailor, what he's looking for.
When he like does his little gallop and chased after Mark Briscoe,
amazing.
This is so. I don't even know how you come up with some of this stuff, but it works for this guy. Rush does a dive through the ropes, does the rebound stunner. Briscoe catches him with an iconoclasm, and then this is the finish. So Leo does another rebound off the bottom rope. He bounces, and I don't know if Briscoe was just too many steps back, but he was not in position for whatever they were going for. And I imagine he was going to catch him on the shoulders into the cutthroat driver because he just readjusts, lifts him up for the cutthroat driver, and that's the finish in 9 minutes and 12 seconds. So just kind of a mistimed ending to this.
A little bit, unfortunately. But I mean, I thought the point was still there. Like essentially he had to stop, the move and he did.
Kind of just tackled him.
Yeah. I thought it was a fun match to, number one, continue Briscoe's path to MJF, but I really do think the takeaway here is Leo Rush, who I think was a blast to watch under this gimmick. And I think with each appearance since that Stadium Stampede, I think he's earning new fans. Certainly in me, he is. And I think
he's graduated to Dynamite.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Which I think tells you that Tony Khan is really on board with the character, and I think it's only a matter of time before the audience will start craving to see him actually win some matches. Right now, he's still kind of positioned as like guy who loses. Like he's weird, and you might talk about him, but he will lose, But I think it's a strong gimmick because number one, like Leo Rush has found a gimmick that allows him to feel more competitive than his size would otherwise allow. There are a million other small, highly athletic, high-flying cruiserweights in AEW. To really stand up from the pack, I think it comes down to how strong your non-wrestling things are, including your character, including your promo, and he happened to find an incredible character that stands out on its own. It's also the type of gimmick that will allow him to be competitive with bigger wrestlers because he's now portrayed as somebody who is more than just human. He's kind of not from the world. And therefore, you're not really left just thinking about him being a small guy anymore.
He's not human. It's a great trait. Briscoe gets the mic, and what a promo this guy delivers. He addresses MJF. He gives out the date of January 17th, 2023, the day he lost his brother in the blink of an eye. The next day was my birthday. It was Jay's birthday. It was his birthday on the 18th.
Shortly after his death, they were supposed to celebrate their birthday together.
Their birthdays were a week apart. Yeah. And the next week, on what would have been Jay's birthday, he made his AEW debut. And he did it alone. He did it with grief, anger, and rage that he had to bury inside of him because AEW ended up being his therapy because he couldn't find joy. But then he found the conglomeration. His heart was full. He had brothers again, and he felt the joy of being a pro wrestler again. Then I crossed paths with you, Max, and that anger and rage returned because I've never felt such hatred for a man as I do for you. I pinned you in this ring, and then you left, and I was happy again, but then you returned, and so did the rage, and now I want your AEW title. Prove to me that you're the best. You say you're the devil, and he points to this tattoo, which he says stands for Child of God. And in this great line
in Hebrew, specifically.
In Hebrew,
yeah.
he says, I don't know if you've read the book, but you lose, devil. It was like, he went to the Bible.
Great. Yeah.
Spoiler. I haven't finished yet. I thought this promo was great, even though I butchered it.
Have you read it? Have you
the Bible
as part of your school?
I had to read like a version when I was like in like 3rd or 4th grade. It was like a version for kids, not like the whole Bible.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. A really strong storytelling promo from Mark Briscoe here, and I mean one that encapsulated his entire journey through AEW, from his brother's death to present time. I'll say, like, I think given the time and space given, I think he had to cram a lot into one space, and so at times it felt like it was a little bit rambling, but I certainly love the way it closed, you know, like addressing his, you know, the big Hebrew nickname while pointing to the Hebrew tattoo on his shoulder, and then using his whole spirituality to address the devil nickname. I thought it was strong. And then also a reminder that Briscoe beat MJF in their last match together, which was that thumbtack match, of course.
I thought this promo was great, and would continue this thread throughout the night of these matches occurring and then these post-match challenges for MJF of just one after the other lining their argument for a title shot. We come back. The only thing that could have followed this, the Triangle of Madness come through the crowd, and there is Tekla, who warned if anyone from Stardom came here, she would burn that company to the ground. When I was there, I was the idol killer because they made me sick to my stomach, so I took them all out, and I did get fired from Japan. And she states that Sky Blue is going to go win the Owen. Julia needs to win the TBS title, but Tekla is focused on Forbidden Door. And the Sisters of Sin bring out a ladder. It's a possible hint of where this is going to culminate. And Tekla is going to close that door for good. And she climbs up the ladder and tells Stardom, I'm not declaring war. I'm declaring death to Stardom. And she proceeds to spit onto the Stardom logo on the LED screen. And Excalibur issues a dead serious apology to their promotional partner.
Yeah. I love this.
Good thing that New Japan World is kicking this programming out, and they will not air such blasphemy on their streaming service.
Well, maybe AEW will start streaming on Stardom World after all this.
Yeah, I thought Tekla was awesome here. Just tremendous. And if it's not Taro Okada and Tekla in a ladder match, I'm going to be disappointed. This is what NXT is going to be going up against.
Taro Okada on
a pole.
Being hung. Yeah, being hung on top of that
would be great.
You have to grab him.
That would be great.
It really does feel like, to me, like Stardom has kind of been taken a real backseat to both, of course, like New Japan and CMLL over the years in this sort of like Forbidden Door relationship. So to me, this felt like a much needed acknowledgement and spotlighting of Stardom as part of Forbidden Door, which I can only imagine will get deeper now that they are the only like Bushi Road, entity anymore. I thought she was very impressive here, very charismatic as usual, and able to do it all with, like, I would say, like a pretty impressive walk and talk, taking us all the way from the stands down the ramp and then all the way up the ladder in yeah, really perfect.
And also got, like, you could actually, like, it's not easy to spit onto, like, an LED screen on white font, and you could detect, like, there was actual spit here.
Very true. Yes. A lot
of magnifying glass out. Yeah, so a lot of spit on the show. The Death Riders are preparing with Ospreay for his match with Mark Davis, and Moxley gives him a pep talk, says that Davis, you got to get these thoughts out of your mind. He's just a man. He's not a monster, and you're not the same guy that lost to him. So go out there. Andrade El Idolo proved that we can beat DK Vandu, as he did in 39 seconds, hitting him with a spinning elbow and the DM. And this was just to get Andrade on the show to cut a promo on MJF. He says he wants the title. Do you think you can beat me? How you know? And Don Callis and Jake Doyle come out. And just like that, they name Kevin Knight as the newest member. Knight comes out and he hugs Don Callis. Knight's in the Don Callis family.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? I was wondering if they would do that. In this, certainly not a surprise. Every heel ends up joining the Don Callis family, it seems. But what do you feel about that?
I didn't think Kevin Knight needed it. I kind of wanted to watch this guy just sort of be on his own. But I think for their heels. They just want them all confined to this group or feuding with this group. It's one or the other, and that's kind of where Knight is. It's like you've just got this plethora of guys, but it just feels like him and Kyle Fletcher are sort of serving the same role in this group, but maybe there's something you can build out of that. I mean, it's also a mechanism where you can put this guy in multi-mans and tags and get on to TV and stuff and not necessarily have to do singles matches. I don't know. I wasn't crazy about the idea, but it's just a role that it's worked for some, and others are background players. This guy's not going to be a background player.
No, I don't think so. I don't really dislike the move personally. I think, Kyle Fletcher and plenty of others show that you could still talk plenty, even as part of a bigger faction like the Don Callis family. I think having like Callis behind him only maybe makes his heelness feel that much like bigger, in my opinion. I also think it allows room for like heavies to join Kevin Knight, to make Kevin Knight again feel more like a principal lead character with a bit of muscle behind him, like you saw Jake Doyle kind of play here in this match. So I'm really not against it. I think it also probably tells me that you'll get more people leaving the Don Callis family to make room, of course, because there's
this is it for Trent. He's done.
Well, I'm thinking Andrade, who I think is already very much a babyface. Certainly,
he's in this group.
He's I don't think he's too long for the group, but we'll see, especially with Fletcher and Kevin Knight maybe butting heads over the TNT title.
And that takes us right into Knight and Speedball for the TNT title. Knight avoids Ultima Weapon early on, and it gets on top of him with strikes. Bailey had some great kicks here. Hit him with a push kick to the face, this spin kick as Knight was leaping in the air and caught him flush for this big reaction. Bailey goes for the triangle moonsault, but is shoved over the top rope, nailing his back on the apron and sells on the floor. Knight hits his big springboard clothesline to the floor, and Bailey comes back with the moonsault double knees, tornado kick, and then sets up for the Ultima Weapon, and Kevin Knight does his leaping Rana off the buckle. Bailey is up, spinning wheel kick, and Jake Doyle gets involved with the referee as Callis knocks Bailey off balance. It's hilarious that it's like Jake Doyle is the decoy and Don Callis gets physically involved.
I know. I would have probably switched the roles just to kind of again, show Jake Doyle as more of a physical threat rather than just a guy who's there to distract the ref. But, I mean, it's a small thing. Yeah.
And so Bailey gets slammed off the top and lifted into the air for a Uranage by Knight to win in 12 minutes and 54 seconds. Knight says, "That's how you do it." And he had to get rid of the weight he was carrying. He refers to Callis as Don Perignon, and he's here to become Jet Two Belts, and he's waiting for MJF. The match was good. I didn't think this one reached like the idea of like this big dream match involving these ex-partners. Like It was a good match, but I didn't come out of it in like salivating for a rematch to run this one back anytime soon either. Like this kind of just felt like, okay, Knight's going to beat Bailey and he's moving on. That's how it felt.
Well, certainly. I mean, and judging by the way it was booked, it suggests that this was really meant as just more of a prelude to the actual match that these two will have, probably on a bigger stage, probably, I would suggest, in Montreal, for Redemption, right? I mean, they seem to be going at a level.
Does this one have juice to go another 8 weeks?
I do think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I do think so. Yeah, because you have given Bailey some extra motivation to maybe build up revenge against Kevin Knight. And in the meantime, Knight can defend against whomever, right? And
maybe he cuts a serious promo next week. He'll show up in a suit and he'll demand a rematch.
What kind of suit?
A kimono.
Yes. We have a great short about that on our social media, thanks to Sean. But like I feel like they were going a level beneath what they were truly capable of for the purposes of maybe holding something back for, again, a bigger match on an actual pay-per-view. That's kind of how it felt to me. And the way that this was made in rush fashion, like, suggests that they weren't going to give out like the definitive match between the two.
Renee chats with the dogs, who have their new 5-second pose t-shirt, and they're drinking 5-second brews and 5-second kazoos that they play.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. We were all there for Edge and Christian, okay? All of us old folk, but I don't know. There's a part of me that kind of found it a bit cringeworthy seeing like these two, who have come in being like these very cool heels, like even mockingly doing Edge and Christian shtick from 1998.
Yeah, these two were like 6 and 7 years old when Edge and Christian were doing the kazoo bit.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just saying they're really relying on their fan base to
remember things the demos
from a quarter century ago.
Have you seen the demos? Like where we spent like 15 minutes talking about Mick Foley in this thing.
Wow. So in come the Young Bucks, and they've been put on the spot. It's like, who can have the most dated references in this promo? And Matt topped them by asking, who let the dogs out? And then Nick asking, what the dog doing?
Yeah, which is like some reference to, I think it's a BT bit. I've seen it referenced like on Reddit and such. I haven't really been following BT or whatever TikTok thing that this thing might be appearing on. Yeah.
The Bucks state they are next in line for the belts. Not you, referring to David Finlay, who was the worst Bullet Club leader, or Connors here, who he refers to as Team Hangman. And
no, Timu.
Oh, Timu Hangman. I thought you said sorry, folks. I'm just off. So they challenge him for a match. What do you think
Team Hangman would?
I don't know. Maybe he's aspiring to form. I don't know. So they challenge them for tonight, and the dogs say no.
I'm sure this match will be great on an eventual edition of Dynamite. Again, my big takeaway was I just don't really want to see these two doing like that type of comedy, but I don't fault them for trying to find a bit more personality, because you kind of again need it to stand out from the pack.
Yeah,
keep trying.
They didn't stand out from the pack for me tonight in this segment. Renee chats with MJF, who's doing like an ice bath in the back. He turns down Mark Briscoe. That title's for winners and top guys, so stop asking. Survival of the fittest for the vacant TBS title. They're pushing this one till July 1st. It'll be on Dynamite in San Diego. That's like a month away. They're going to decide this.
I guess they're waiting for Forbidden, like for the Owen to wrap up.
Right. This will be the Wednesday after Forbidden Door that they do this. Collision on Saturday. They have just announced Hazuki and Persephone in the Owen, and Divine Dominion defending the tag titles against Ty and Anna Jay. Next Wednesday is the Summer Blockbuster, and our Summer Blockbuster will include Swerve Strickland against Brody King in the semifinals and Sky Blue against Saray in the quarterfinals of the Owen tournament.
So she's cleared.
I guess so. Or it's in wrestling where it's like she will be cleared by next Wednesday. Where people have a prognosis, they know when someone will be cleared.
All right.
Alex Windsor comes out, and the wild card is in fact revealed to be Mercedes Moné, who got a really big pop when she came out, and this is her first AEW match since December 31st when she lost the belt to Willow, and first match period since March 2 months ago for Winnipeg Pro Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
She's just been coasting off the off the wave of that Winnipeg Pro Wrestling title loss.
Well, once you deserve some time off, I suppose, after making that sort of schedule. I haven't really been following too much online, but like I didn't hear much buzz about this potentially like being Moné. Obviously, everybody expects probably Moné, but usually, like, this sort of stuff might leak ahead of time, and I guess I don't know if like any of that happened. So as a way to maybe protect it, I feel like they did a good job. I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see anything out there. You could argue like Mercedes coming back is something. Would you have promoted it?
That is the argument. So like the business man in me would say yes, but the wrestling fan in me appreciates that they didn't, because I think there are some things you want to like let people maybe feel like they regret not tuning in live for, so that they might make a bigger habit about tuning into Dynamite on a weekly basis. You know, you also want some things to maybe reward the people that are sticking around and watching live every single week. So they could have played this hand plenty of times over the course, like dating back to Winnipeg when they did that Dynamite like that very week, right? But they chose to maybe save it. Maybe their hand was forced as a result of Willow, of course, but they played it on, I would say, a pretty random edition of Dynamite, like in the middle of the match, in the middle of the show. And it wasn't even just a promo. It was her coming out and having an actual match. So, like, part of me actually really enjoys that just as a viewing experience.
I'm really curious if they, in fact, had to rebook this tournament and got Mercedes into the tournament versus the idea that she was always going to end up in this tournament and take out a Sky Blue or someone. Like, it's hard to imagine they were going to do this tournament without Mercedes. But maybe they were. I don't know the answer.
It's possible. It's possible. Willow could have gone to the very end.
Well,
right?
that was my thinking, was that it would make all the sense that, like, somehow, like, Sky Blue, I think many people look at as like a weak link that could have been taken out somehow. And Mercedes
is not.
Pardon?
But Saray is not.
She is not, but think about that, like Mercedes and Saray to do that match. Like, that is a match to me that Tony Khan would want to do. And you could have Mercedes go to the final with Willow. Like, I thought that was a very possible path that you could have done there.
I guess I don't know if I would have seen Saray losing like in her first AEW match like in quite some time. Like, has she even had a proper AEW match?
She has not, I don't believe.
Just ROH, right? So anyway, that we're kind of getting I'd love to know maybe what the rejigging of all of this is. I also would love to know if like Alex Windsor was supposed to have a bigger role in this tournament, given, well, like she's from the UK and has the very same ambition as Will Ospreay to headline the show.
I can't imagine she was going over Willow in the first round.
I guess you never know, because Willow certainly did need to advance, being the TBS champion, right? So would something have happened? Yeah, all things to think about.
So the match begins. Early on, she goes for the statement maker, and Windsor gets out of that, and then Moné snaps her neck, and it's a lot of Moné on offense for a lot of the match. 3 amigos. She catches her for another 3 amigos, and finally Windsor stops the last one and hits this Made in Japan that Mercedes got up for early. There's a sunset bomb that sends Windsor into the corner, and then they kind of picked up the pace here. They're going back and forth with covers. Moné hits a knee into the backstabber and the statement maker to win the match. 12 minutes, 25 seconds, and she won't release the hold at first. And so Moné advances to face either Hazuki or Persephone after Saturday's match.
I really enjoyed the match, and I don't know how much of this might be influenced by the fact that we like just reviewed Sasha versus Bailey from NXT Brooklyn not that long ago, but like seeing Moné, what was that, like 12 years ago, something like that, to her in present form now really shows you just how much she has evolved over these years. I thought she was so smooth here. Her transitions looked really great. Her pinfall attempts were fantastic. And even compared to like her first non-WWE matches out of that system, I feel like she now looks so seasoned and comfortable working this particular style. I also thought Alex Windsor was really great here. Again, not sure how far she was supposed to go in this tournament, but I thought she wrestled this one like it was her tournament final. And I think she's been a great addition to this roster. Hard-hitting, charismatic, very strong in ring. So heat, I felt for this one, like I maybe was to me a little bit lacking, just given like the newsworthiness of the return here. But as a match, I actually really enjoyed it.
Moné is with Don Callis and Kazuchika Okada, and he puts over Knight and Mark Davis. He believes that Mark Davis will go to headline All In London, which was,
as he should.
You got to promote that. He says, Okada, you got screwed against Takeshita. We're not going to stand for it. And Okada says his title doesn't belong in a backpack, and it won't be there for long, meaning we're probably getting a rematch of what was many people's match of the show on the show of the year.
You're probably getting rematches.
You say plural. Maybe they'll just run this every month through All In.
I don't know if people would complain so much.
Ciampa does a promo backstage asking where Jericho is. He's at home because I took him out, and I arrived, marked my spot by chopping the head off the snake, and warns Jericho what will happen if he returns and calls him, you stupid idiot. I think he's been doing good with these promos. I like the the list he brought in on Saturday, and this is a good program, I think, for Ciampa.
Again, like this is an audience catering to
wrestling stopped in the year 2000. There's no new ideas after 2000. That was the peak of creativity, and we're just going to keep going back to 98, 99, 2000.
And really not much reference to things like before that either. You know, like you're not seeing like references to like, I don't know, like 1995 King of the Ring. Like,
do you think in 20 years we're going to have audiences humming like the Axiom Nathan Frazier theme at arenas? One more match.
Probably not, because I don't think that was nearly as affecting as some of the stuff here. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just because, like, number one, that was a boom. Secondly, it was like the internet maybe like becoming a thing, and just like all of us deepening our wrestling knowledge that much. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with an excuse. Yeah.
Our final match is Will Ospreay and Mark Davis for the semifinals of the Owen Hart Cup. They showed highlights of their April 22nd match, and Ospreay immediately targets the arm. Davis is still wearing his eye patch. I swear to God, this has got to just be a joke. Excalibur mentions that during COVID, Will opened up his house to Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis, and they didn't have to pay rent. I was just like, it's insane. They have to mention this every fucking time. They live together.
I mean,
Excalibur must have been part of like an awesome fraternity and just like is like blood brothers with the people he lived with. Like, this is just a sacred oath you take with your roommates that you would never turn on them.
Do you know how much rent is probably, like how high it must be in London or wherever Ospreay was living during COVID? Come on.
I mean, he was doing empty arena matches with B. Priestley for live streams. I mean, they had to make money somehow.
Yeah.
So the crowd's singing for Ospreay. He takes an X-Plex onto the desk, and it's Davis in control. Ospreay won't go down from these chops. Then he does a kip up into an enziguri. Crowd is behind him, and Ospreay goes for the death ground. But Davis power bombs him, does the deadlift pile driver. Ospreay kicks out, and they fight onto the edge. Ospreay hits a Rana, sending him to the floor. Davis gets in at 9, right into a springboard dropkick and Styles clash. And despite everyone kicking out of these Styles clashes, when Davis kicked out, this place erupted. They could not believe that Mark Davis survived the Styles clash. So an enziguri misses Ospreay, and he takes out Paul Turner. So we have our ref bump, and then it became the House of Torture. Hidden blade, but the ref is down, so Trent comes in. You know shit's on when Trent Beretta is coming in with El Clone, but they are taken out by Garcia and Yuta. Archer's in, Claudio's in, Brian Cage is in, looking like he just came out of, like 1980s random territory here with his attire. He hits an F5, and then Pac is in. It leads to an Oscutter. Paul Turner is still dead. So Doyle yanks Paul Turner, and Shafir jumps onto Doyle's back. He throws her off, and that leads to Moxley showing up. And he hits a paradigm shift onto Doyle. They clear the ring. Pac with a big moonsault to the floor. And the last one to appear is Kyle Fletcher from behind, taking out Ospreay with a half-and-half suplex, and he's got a screwdriver. And he's about to deliver the screw job when Konosuke Takeshita shows up, yanks Fletcher to the floor, and with Davis holding the screwdriver, it's knocked out of his hands by a hidden blade, then hits a follow-up. Bryce comes in, counts 2, and this place goes nuts. And Davis gets one last burst of energy, and he gets caught in the dreaded death ground. And finally, he taps. 23 minutes and 5 seconds. And the man that never paid rent, the rent came due tonight. And Will Ospreay goes to the final on June 28th.
I thought this finish was incredible. And having seen Rollins attempt and unfortunately fail at that Ospreay, like that lariat counter into the powerbomb, perhaps Will thought it was time to freshen things up, and maybe that spot has kind of jumped the shark. And he came up with probably
when Seth is trying my moves, that's it.
A lot of people are doing it, like Dragon Lee does it, I believe, anyway. So he came up with, I would say, probably the coolest addition to it with his transition from that spot into the death ground without ever touching the ground.
Right.
And like I think like the death ground is a flying armbar, and they're cool, but they're hardly novel these days. Not to mention, it never really felt like Will Ospreay's own move. It's a move that's existed really, I mean, for a long, long time. But this kind of puts his own spin into it, like literally, and it makes it feel like it's a move that only Will Ospreay can do. So on top of that, I just thought this was a great match. If you told me on paper that this match would feature like, I don't know, like 10, 12 people running in, I would not have expected it to, I think, like make me feel like that it was so strong afterwards. I thought the run-ins in succession between the Don Callis family and the Death Riders was just really perfectly orchestrated, and each one of them lifted this crowd that much more. And I think it was helped because you have, I think, very like clear, opposites for each member here. Like to start, you had, who was it here? It was so it was like Garcia, and then it was like
Garcia and Yuta were the first two of the Death Riders.
Archer took them out, but then the other big guy, Claudio, takes out Archer, and so it requires another big dude in Brian Cage to take out Claudio, only for the other short king to Pac to take out their short king in Brian Cage. Then you had Davis take out Pac, but then you have anyway, it just stacked beautifully, and with each succession, each guy got a great profile, and it lifted this crowd with each one. And then you had Marina Shafir again have a great spot with another big guy, only for Mox to come in to again like, and then Fletcher on top of it all, the other person who didn't pay rent, being the big difference.
So by the way, folks, like we're building towards an Okada Takeshita rematch and clearly a Takeshita Fletcher match as well. So that's all coming. 9 times out of 10, I am not going to enjoy these just armies of run-ins, but they can be done in such a way. And I think as we've seen with like the House of Torture ones that do work, it's like when the big hero overcomes everything and gets this big celebratory win. But I did also like the fact that we booked like 5 different matches during these run-ins that you could easily see. Like, for instance, next week they're in Cincinnati, where Moxley lives. I think Jake Doyle's going to get a match with John Moxley just based on that spot tonight. And that's fine for a TV match. I think that you could get a bunch of these matches that you built towards. You got the big win from Ospreay. I would not want to make like this stuff, like doing this kind of thing too often. I think you can do it every now and then where you just do all the big run-ins, and this crowd went nuts for them. This totally worked for the crowd, and they were going crazy. They believed Mark Davis winning on several of these falls, which to me is astounding that people thought Mark Davis could win this match, but they did get to that point.
And other than maybe the initial, iteration of the Death Riders, they don't do this stuff that often. I almost think like House of Torture is almost an unfair comparison for something like this, because those never really amount to much singling and spotlighting of the individual members. This one had every pairing kind of make sense. Like there was thought put into every pairing, and there was a point to every single pairing. Not to mention, like, I think the great history that they, brought up through the screwdriver from the Kyle Fletcher match, and just, I thought, overall very good storytelling with the neck and also the arm setup here for the Death Ground. So I thought this was a terrific match. It was totally different from the match they had the first time, and in some ways, I kind of felt it was better. Like, creative, action was strong, storytelling was there, incredible heat. So, yeah, my match of the night.
So next week, it'll be Swerve and Brody King. And I would say by this time next week, you probably have Ospreay and Swerve. And then you have like 2.5 weeks to build that one up. And I think that's an excellent final to go with. And It's a big match for Forbidden Door at the end of this.
Former partners. A lot of story to be told there.
All right, well, there you go. That was Dynamite. And yes, so they will be in Youngstown, Ohio on Saturday. We have the 2 matches announced, and then the Summer Blockbuster. They're doing back-to-back nights in Cincinnati next week. So announcements to be made for that show to come. And Collision as well.
Collision as well. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, we are going to say goodbye to everybody on the YouTube stream, but we're coming back Thursday. We've got our Manami Toyota retrospective, so do check that out. And on Friday, Thursday night, I'll be with Brandon Thurston. We'll be live here on the channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are planning to do an entire primer for the WWE shareholder lawsuit. We are going to get everybody ready. Who are the players? What are they fighting over? What do the experts disagree on? And who will be testifying, as well as some other stories that are percolating this week. Friday night, Wai Ting is with Neil Flanagan. Saturday, we've got Collision Course with you and Kate on Saturday night.
That is correct. Yep. We're going to start a little bit later at 11 o'clock. Yeah.
You wanted to see Hazuki and Persephone.
That made me help me make my decision. Yes.
You know, as of right now, we have 2 matches announced. It's an all-women's edition of Collision so far.
That would be novel.
Yes.
Which I don't see that sticking, but yes.
Okay. So we will say goodbye to everybody. Hit the subscribe button. Join the free tier at postwrestlingcafe.com. You can enjoy all of the shows that we are releasing through Sunday, which does include the Best of the Super Juniors final that Karen and Bruce will be putting out on Sunday, as well as the audio news updates. So goodbye to everybody on YouTube.